when you go on a romantic getaway with your sweetheart, which I would highly recommend doing at least once in a year, if not more. I would say more the better, to be honest. But when you're going on a romantic getaway, you don't have the stress of dealing with the children as much. So you get to really refocus on each other.
Welcome to the Get Your Marriage On podcast. I'm your host, Dan Purcell, a Christian marriage and intimacy expert and coach. I'm on a mission to help couples have the best sex and most emotionally intimate marriages possible. Our episodes cover topics you've always wondered about and are packed with practical advice designed to help you take your marriage to the next level. 5 years ago, I was sitting around the campfire trying to keep warm in the southern Utah desert at night. Around the fire were other dads that brought their boys to this campout. And while our boys were out playing, we adults were talking around the fire. And one of the men was telling us about this amazing trip he and his wife made to Thailand, where they camped out on the beach in this pristine tropical bay. And another man told us about his trip to the Dominican Republic at this all-inclusive resort, just he and his wife. And another guy talked about this cruise he and his wife went on, and all these fun and exciting trips with just their wives. And I was so feeling sorry for myself. I had an extreme case of FOMO. I wanted to get away with my wife, but I just felt like I couldn't because of the circumstances in my life. You see, up to that point in our marriage, we've been married 15 years at that point. We've gone away, just the two of us, only 3 times to that point, once kids came along. So having kids and trying to plan a trip for just the two of us with kids has always been my excuse, our hang-up, why we don't travel. Because, let's talk about it, what brave soul would be willing to watch our 6 kids so that Emily and I could just get away to play? And there's also the expense involved in getaway. And what if we felt guilty leaving our kids behind? And, what if our time together was a flop? And all these reasons why we just didn't think we could get away. But that night, while sleeping in a tent, I decided that I wanted to change it. I can stay and wallow in my bitterness and make excuses and play the victim, or I can try to do something about it. And the funniest thing happened once I decided I wanted to make a getaway happen. Others call it, I think, the law of attraction, but that's the idea of once you put your mind to it, like things kind of click into place. For example, we got in touch with a young adult daughter of a new friend of ours that was enthusiastic about watching our kids for a few days. And then we got an unexpected late payment for some work that I had done a while ago that made affording a trip a reality. Around this time, I read in a magazine or something about a consultant that prepares surprise vacations for couples. So this consultant books all the travel, accommodations, and plans activities without telling the couple where they're going. They show up to the airport and they have an envelope telling them where they're going to go that day. Oh, they get a packing list too. But it's like you open an envelope. It's like an open when kind of a thing where you arrive at one point, then you open the next envelope. And so it's a complete surprise for the couple on what they're going to be doing. So I reached out to my friend, Josie McEwen, who's on our podcast today, who you'll get to meet. And I asked her if she would prepare a surprise vacation for us. So I put our whole trip budget on a prepaid Visa card, and she booked the entire trip for us, airfare, hotel, everything, without telling us where we were going until the day of. Talk about an adventure. And what an amazing trip that was for us. This was back in January 2019 when we finally made that trip happen. And talk about a surprise adventure. We had so much fun. And we just really needed this time together, this time away. And that experience of getting away, just the two of us, really nourished our relationship and boosted us like nothing else. So since that time, we've gone at least on one weekend away together every 3 months or about 4 times a year. And it's become something we really look forward to doing in our marriage. And it's become a staple for helping our relationship thrive. One of the romantic getaways we've done also is to attend other couples retreats. And these couples retreats we have attended were fantastic. Because having a romantic getaway coupled with instruction from someone we trust on how to build our marriage stronger has been always a very positive experience for us. And we also get to make friends with other couples and learn from them too. And that's why we put on marriage retreats at Get Your Marriage On, and why you should seriously consider attending our next retreat in March in southern Utah. Whatever your current objections are, if you put your mind towards it, you'll likely figure out a way to make it happen. Couples retreats are an excellent way to nourish your marriage and have some fun. You can find all the details about our upcoming retreat at our website at getyourmarriageon.com. Josie, welcome to the
Hello.
Get Your Marriage On pod. How are you today?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
That's good. Today we're going to talk about romantic getaways. And you do a lot of romantic getaways, but I want to hear, have you ever had a romantic getaway that's totally flopped for you?
I've had several actually, and sometimes you just have to laugh it off. But I've had a lot of more
Uh-huh.
successes than I've had flops, so that's always good. But the one
Good.
that comes to my mind was I planned a romantic getaway for my husband and I, and we didn't have any kids, so we were going to go do all the theme parks in California. So we knew we were going to be busy all day, and I found this cute Airbnb. On the pictures, it looked so romantic. They had like a rose on the bed, and they had this great. The pictures looked amazing. And so I booked it. It was like a little one room apartment. And we got there and it's in this really shady neighborhood. And I was like, I don't even know if
Uh-huh.
my dad leaves my car here. And then
Uh-huh.
we
Uh-huh.
walk in and there's this overwhelming smell of punk all throughout the hallways. And I was
Oh,
like, oh no, this is not what I wanted at all. So I was a little nervous,
oh
like, well,
no.
we can't stay here. We're going to have to find something really short notice. Anyway, we get to the room. Luckily, the room itself did not smell like pot. But so you had to like hurry and plug your nose as you went through the hallway. And the room itself was kind of dingy and dirty. The pictures did not represent it well. And so I was debating, I'm like, well, should we just go find somewhere else? But we knew that we were going to be gone most of the day. And like that wasn't where we were planning on spending our time. Like if we were going to spend most of our time there, we would have gone and found somewhere else. But it it was definitely a learning experience to figure out the neighborhood around where we're at and see the reviews. And anyway, it was definitely a laughable experience now, but it was
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
not, it was one of those like what I pictured was not what happened at all.
Um,
So
Not romantic. Uh-huh.
no, I mean, we still did our best. I'd brought things to make it romantic. And so we did our best, but it was definitely more laughable than anything else. But that's a fun memory to have too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you get into romance consulting?
So I have always loved being romantic. It's just one of my favorite things. Like it's just a weird hobby that I have. Like when I'm planning a date, I'm like, oh, and I could do this, and I could do this. Like it's just even as a young girl, I remember my dad was giving my mom a treadmill because that was something that she wanted. And I was like, Dad, I have an idea. So we had this huge box and we decorated with hearts and everything. And I made him get inside the box. He was like 70 or something. And I'm like, here, you
Uh-huh.
need to hop out. Like when mom comes in, here's some flowers, hop out. And we did it. And it was like this fun little surprise. But that was like as a teenager, I remember being focused on doing romantic things. So it's just something
Uh-huh.
I've always loved doing, and it's something I really enjoy. And so in my second marriage, my first marriage, I did romantic things and they weren't really appreciated very much. And so I kind of didn't do them as much. And then with my second marriage, I was planning a date for my sweetheart and I wanted to be extra special. And I planned this whole baseball theme. He really liked baseball. So I started looking online and started thinking of ideas like a different, like a bedroom game or something intimate that we could do. And I ended up creating my own baseball game. And I
Uh-huh.
made cards and I laid them all out through that out the house. We weren't going to have kids that weekend. And then I planned like a special dinner where we went to like a sports bar and we were going to go to batting cages. Like it was a whole theme date and it was so fun. Like I had so much fun planning it. And when we were all finished, my husband was like, wow, that was amazing. I wish I could pay someone to make me look romantic like that. And I was like, hmm. And then he was like, you really should sell this. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This was just for fun. That's not me. But eventually that idea is what created my business. So I know romance comes easy to me, but it doesn't come easy to everybody else. So that's what I'd want to do. And it's really fun for me to create these romantic experiences. Even when it's not for myself, I still get like so excited.
That's good. And speaking of that baseball game, we got that baseball game
Oh,
from
yes,
you a few years
you
ago. My wife
did.
and I played it. And for you listening, yes, you go to first base, second base, third base, and home with all the meanings that implies.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a fantastic, very sexy bedroom game to play.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very, very creative and well thought out.
Well, thank you. I really love it. It's probably one of my best sellers, actually, to this day. Probably one of the favorites among my clients.
So tell me about some other fun, sexy bedroom games that you've made.
So I have 7 of them. I have one that's a night of massage game. That's really fun. That's a really popular one. I have a football one, a basketball one, and I have a kiss and tell one where it's like charades where you have to try and guess what your sweetheart's saying with their kisses. And then I also have one that completely spoils women that's called Sexy Wife May I? And so it really focuses on the female sexual response. And it's definitely my female client's favorite game for obvious reasons. They get completely
We've done
spoiled.
that one too.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah.
I also have a St. Patrick's Day game that I love as well, where you get a high
It's all about
shamrock.
getting lucky.
Yes, and
Uh-huh.
finding your lucky shamrock. So they are
That's
super
so
fun,
cool.
and they definitely bring in a lot of variety, but it also helps like all of them focus on emotional connection and physical connection. So you're both getting what you want, but you're also having fun and enjoying the night together as well.
That's great. Now, you also not only make bedroom games to, enhance romance at home, but you also do getaways.
I
You help
do.
couples like prepare a vacation for them. And, we've used your services before for that. But can you tell us what are elements that you think about in planning a romantic getaway that couples listening to this podcast can kind of glean a few tips from you
Oh,
on
yeah,
how to
of
make it
course.
great?
Planning romantic getaways is my absolute favorite thing, like that I do. I just get so excited. I'm like a kid at Christmas. So first of all, there's always the basic questions of like, when can we go? Where do we want to go? But those questions really do say a lot. Like if there's like a dream romantic getaway or like something on your bucket list that you and your spouse have been wanting to do and maybe you've been like saving up for it, like there's a lot that goes into the where and how much we're going to spend, what's really doable, what can we do, what's going to happen, Oh, but I really love to focus on the dream aspect. Like what do we want out of this? Like, what are your expectations? What are my expectations? Something that I've been wanting to do is like go ride horses on the beach sometime. And so we went on a cruise and that we did that on Valentine's Day. And it was like everything I hoped it would be, except they didn't let us bring our cameras. So I didn't get to take pictures. I could have bought pictures, but I didn't. Anyway, so like now looking back, I'm like, oh, I should have bought those pictures, but because that was like one of these dream things that I wanted to do. And I have the memory of it, but I would like to have the pictures. So knowing beforehand, like I'm going to splurge and I'm going to get those pictures. Or for this romantic getaway, I really want to focus on really connecting with you. Or I really dream about going ziplining through the jungle or whatever it may be. So as you're planning this romantic getaway, you're also like incorporating like those dreams from each of you. Like, this is what I'm expecting. This is what I'm expecting. Maybe it's I'm dreaming of just sitting on the beach. And the other person is like, well, I want to go and do all these fun activities. So there may need to be like a compromise of like, okay, we'll have a beach day and then we'll have an adventure day and make sure you have enough time in your planning for that as well. And I would also encourage couples to create a travel bucket list of things that you want to do together, like an actual list where you have pictures, where you have ideas, where you have a goal, like I want to do this in like 2 years or a year. So you're kind of prioritizing that and then share it with each other and be like, is this something you would want to do? Is this something you would enjoy doing? So that's where I would start. It's just start with the dreaming because that is where it gets fun because you get to make those dreams become a reality together.
Oh, I love that. Love that. that bucket list concept really helpful. When you can sit down and make a bucket list, like my wife and I have a sexy bucket list, for
Mm-hmm.
example, like sexual experiences we want to have.
Mm-hmm.
We will sometimes plan our getaways around like that item, like
That's
let's
so
go,
awesome.
check this off, right? Or this travel bucket list. We want to do this. So kind of having that is a great way to kind of start the planning of the romantic getaway.
I'm also a travel agent. And so now that I'm doing that, I've found that my bucket list is never ending. Like there's so many places that I'm like, oh, I have to go there. I have to go there. Maybe I should just be a world
Uh-huh.
traveler. That would be my next ideal goal to
That'd
travel.
be
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah. Like I just learned this summer, there's a place called the Faroe Islands. Have you heard of these places? It's
cool.
like
I'm gonna have to
it's
look
like
into it.
east of Iceland. It's its own country, population 50,000 people. And I
Cool.
guess that's also where they filmed Neverland,
Cool.
the live action Peter Pan
Uh-huh.
is on this island, and it's anyway. Like there's there's places on earth that I thought I knew them all, but no.
Yeah, I'm
There's
gonna
so
have
many
to look
cool
that up.
places to
I'm
visit.
excited to see that now.
Yeah. They speak
So,
their own language, Faroese. I don't know. Maybe that's a tangent, but I love that concept.
yeah, that's awesome.
All right. This is a podcast where we help couples have great sex lives. And sometimes the best sex couples have is while on vacation.
Definitely.
Is there any considerations that couples can think about to help them set them up for more success, pun intended,
I love that.
on vacation?
Well, I think in general, especially when you go on a romantic getaway with your sweetheart, which I would highly recommend doing at least once in a year, if not more. I would say more the better, to be honest. But when you're going on a romantic getaway, you don't have the stress of dealing with the children as much. So you get to really
Right.
refocus on each other. And vacation sex is great because you're already relaxed. You're in kind of this relaxed state. So you get it just like the sexual experience enhances that relaxed euphoric state. In most cases, like not every vacation is that way, I understand. But, if you're struggling in a relationship, it may not always be that way. But there is a huge potential for that relationship or that romantic getaway sex to be amazing. But there are things that you can do to help with that as well. So going back to like the dreaming and the planning, like I love to plan and love to do these things, but I love it because when I plan something, it also builds that anticipation for myself. It builds like this great experience. And it's not always going to be great. I understand. But for me, in my mind, if I can be like, oh, what could make this experience even better? Like if I know we're going to have sex during our vacation, what if I surprise my husband one of the days and just like come out wearing something that I bought that he's never seen? Or
Uh-huh.
what if I buy something that goes along with a theme that we're already like incorporating? Or
Uh-huh.
what if I like do all that I can do some self-care to get me ready and in the mood to be able to have this great intimacy? Or what if I bring one of my games along that will help us really connect on a further level? Maybe there's something new I want to try. Maybe there's a new position or a new type of thing that you want to try together where we're not distracted. Maybe this would be a good time and maybe it wouldn't. Like you guys know each other the best. And so maybe it's talking about with your sweetheart, like, hey, listen, when we're on this vacation, I would like to be able to be intimate with you and really connect with you. How do you see that we could do that more so? So you're kind of both on the same page as well. So there's a lot that you can do to increase that great vacation sex.
That's good. And I like what you said, relaxation is key.
Yeah.
If you plan a vacation that's really not a vacation, where you're like, on a really tight schedule and it feels stressful, you're going to find a really difficult time feeling relaxed enough to connect sexually in that way. And I've had friends say they love cruises for the fact that everything's planned for you, meals, everything's like done for you.
Yes.
And they just have a lot of sex.
Yeah. I mean,
on the cruise ship.
yeah.
So
I love that too. I went on my
it's
first
relaxing.
cruise this year and I am a huge fan. I recommend it to everybody. And I'm one that, because I'm a planner, I'm like, oh, I got to see this and I got to see this and I got to see this. So the cruise was amazing because we were on a 7-day cruise. So it really helped me to be like, oh, I'm just going to have a day where I read. Like I wanted to do that, but I don't usually allow myself to do that. So we just had a relaxed day together, and I loved that, like being able to just sit, and I like the balance of being able to go and do activities and being able to relax. And I think you have to find that within your couple relationship as well, because not everybody likes to vacation the same either. So
I think this is what we're talking about is all fine and good, but there's going to be some listeners say, yeah, I agree with the concept of going on a getaway, but it's really hard for me to actually do it. They have a lot of objections. What are some primary objections or things that hold people back from taking action in doing a getaway?
one of the things that I find for a lot of my clients is the actual like dauntingness of the planning, like making plans, creating like an itinerary, like what are we going to do? How is this going to all work? Like I have a dream, but how does this like all come about? Or am I getting the best deal? Am I getting ripped off? How do I make this dream become a reality? And that's one of the things that I love to do. It's really fun for me. It's planning those itineraries and kind of taking the stress away of like, you want this dream getaway. So we're going to book you this day for a massage, and this day you're going to do this activity, and this day you guys have a special romantic dinner that's just planned just for you, like, so those little extra things, but it kind of really helps you just to be able to like, oh, I just get to show up for this vacation. So I'd say that's one of the things. And then also, of course, budgeting. Money is definitely an objection, but there's so many different ways that you can travel for less. I mean, I'm all about luxury and romantic getaways where you're just like, okay, we have this amount of money, let's just go spend it. I love that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many times where we have like credit card points that we've earned throughout the year, or there's maybe you have like a special credit card that gives you travel bonus points, like that you can use those points if you're like, you can't afford to go on a romantic getaway, those points, they just are like a free trip. That's what I love to use them for. So to save them up and then just be able to be like, oh, well, we can go here with this amount of points. We can go here. Another option is that you create an actual like savings account for a trip. So throughout the year, you're continually putting so much money into an account. So if you do have that dream vacation that you want to go on, that you're continually, both of you are putting in that money. Maybe you're sacrificing a drink 2 or 3 times a week to go on that vacation, or whatever it may be. And then you can also go on romantic staycations, which is something I love to do, where you find there's so many cute hotels where you could go to, like, it's like a theme, like you're like in Africa or you're in Rome or wherever it may be, that you can feel like you're really escaping, but you're still getting that connection and that time together, but maybe it's closer to home and more affordable than a big expensive getaway as well. So
that's good.
Those are, but I mean, each couple has different objections. It may be that for me and my husband, especially, I want to go on a vacation all the time. I see all these great deals. And I'm like, oh, we got to get this. We got to go on this. We got to book this cruise. So
FOMO is real.
Yes. So for me, I'm the dreamer and I'm the one that's like, oh, look, we got to do this. I saw this great deal. And my husband, the realist, and said, yes, that is a great deal. There's going to be other great deals. You can't go on every vacation trip that you see. And I'm like, okay, you're right. But can we plan one? So for me personally, love to always have one in the work, because that's what gets me excited. Like, that's what, like, saving for one, building the anticipation for that trip. Like, I even have been guilty of planning my next romantic getaway while on my romantic getaway. So I like to always have one in the works, because it really gives me something to look forward to as a couple as well, to be like, oh, I can't wait till we can go here and do this together, or we're saving for this. It just really helps build the anticipation. And sometimes it's really about communicating, like, well, why do you want to go on this romantic getaway? And if you're like, well, I really am just feeling like we need a break from the kids, really need to like reconnect, it might enlighten your spouse to be like, oh, you're not just wanting to go spend money. You're really wanting to like build our relationship. So communicating those things really can be a big help as well.
Mhm. What about kids? That was our biggest objection.
Yeah.
What brave soul is going to watch 6 little children?
I know. That is one of the biggest things as well with going on romantic getaways. But maybe there's some friends that you have that you could switch and you could like say, hey, we'll watch your kids this weekend. You guys watch our kids, or maybe there's grandparents around, or maybe you go on a cruise and you send them to the fun center all day so you can have time with your sweetheart as well. But it's also expensive. It gets more pricey to bring more kids along too. So, but
Mhm. Mhm.
it is definitely one of those big objections or obstacles. But if you can find a way to make it happen, you will not regret it. With going just with your sweetheart. Like, I feel like it is crucial. And even if it's just a weekend, like, or a night away, maybe somebody that would just come and even after the kids go to bed, like you can also create staycation at your own home and create different themes within your room, like, or maybe the kids are going to be at grandparents for an extra night. And so you guys take advantage, maybe over Thanksgiving or Christmas, you just have the kids stay an extra day and you guys go to a hotel, or you go and do something just for you, or maybe it's just a day vacation where the kids are in school and then they're being watched by somebody. And then you guys go on like a little road trip that's close and then you come back, like there's a lot of different possibilities and options, but it can be a really big thing, hard thing. And it's hard for some people to want to be able to leave the kid and know that they're going to be okay as well.
You can be flexible. Just think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Okay, what if you have a reluctant spouse?
That is tricky. It's always hard when that's the case, but I think the communication is key. Like we've talked about, it's just talking about the reason behind why you want to go on a romantic getaway, why you want to spend the time with them. Like, why is it important? And maybe compromising, saying, okay, what are things that you would like to do on a vacation? Like, so you could go on a golf trip one day and then we could go do couples massages together or something like that. So you're also bringing in things that they would like to do and encourage that together, and maybe find out why they're being reluctant. What's causing them to be reluctant? Maybe there's something that they don't fully understand from you, or you're not understanding their point of view of why they're being reluctant, or saying, so I know this may not be possible now. Could we plan for this in 6 months together?
Mm-hmm.
So we could save up the money. Maybe they're really worried about finances right now, or they know there's something big coming down the pipeline, or maybe it's Christmas or whatever it may be. So just really talking about it and trying to figure out where that is kind of coming from. Or maybe they just don't like how vacations have gone in the past and they are resistant because of past experiences, and maybe talking through that, like, okay, so how can we make this vacation different or better, or, whatever it may be. So I feel like communication is key in that.
Yes. It's not that they don't want to go on a vacation. It's that they don't want to go on a vacation with you or the way you vacation.
Yeah.
Or you set your expectations so high for this getaway that now they feel like they have a role to play.
Yeah.
They've got a duty to perform or an act to fill.
Right.
And that's never fun. So you got to make the getaway truly about being together and having fun together. So you got to be collaborative in this way. It's not pressuring someone.
Correct.
We got to get away so we have whatever it might be, like great sex, or so that we get this off our bucket list. You don't drag your spouse along with you.
Yeah.
To a getaway.
Yeah.
That's not how it's supposed to be.
No, I totally agree. And that is a huge thing. I think sometimes you can get in like your own mindset and be like, oh, I don't understand what's the big deal, but really opening it up to be like, well, why is this happening for you? Why are you liking this,
Great. All right. As we conclude, can you tell us any success stories that you've had with clients?
Oh, yes.
That you've worked with What did they do for their getaway? Maybe one or two stories.
Yeah,
Want to
sure.
share?
I'll share another flop one, and then I'll share another success one as well. So,
Great.
so the first one was I planned this trip for my husband and I to Montana. It was somewhere we both wanted to go, and it was gorgeous. Saw the national park there and saw some caves. Like it was a really amazing trip. But I saw the treehouse bungalows, and it's kind of like a glamping kind of thing where you're in the woods, but you have like a nice bed. But they were at this round dome, and you were like right in the trees, and they had like a window and you could see the stars. And I was just so excited. So I booked this for us. What I didn't know is that these were suspended with just cables. So
Uh-huh.
anytime that you would move in this space,
Ah.
you would be like swaying. And it really was like we were getting seasick when we were in this thing. So I planned this like great romantic night, and we were going to have this great intimacy, but I was like, well, I can't do anything. So it was like miracle trying to like play as still as possible. And then anyway, it was quite the experience. So what it looks like on the picture may not always be what it's like in real life.
Uh-huh.
So it's still,
There's a theme here,
I
Josie.
know, I know. Yeah, it
Uh-huh.
was definitely a adventure for sure. But it was fun. We still had a good time with it. I can laugh about it.
But the memories,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Now you can laugh about it. You got something. That's right.
Yeah. So then one of my other great fun experiences, I have lots of fun experiences with clients. I have a couple, but just recently I was on a vacation with my parents, and we were staying by the coast, and they have like a timeshare condo there. And there was one night where my dad took my mom out to go to this special point. So while they were gone, I set up a romantic dinner for him by the fireplace and had him watch the sunset. And it was just like, it was like a really little thing, but it really meant like a lot to them. So that was really fun for me to do. And
And it was a
it
surprise,
was. And
right?
I think that that's
Uh,
something that you can do on your romantic getaways is like plan these fun little surprise. Like I'm going to like blindfold them and take them to this special spot during our romantic getaway, or like research and find these special things, or like maybe it's on their bucket list, like riding horses on the beach. I'm going to plan that special event without them knowing as a surprise. Or if they don't like surprises, tell them about it and just say, hey, I planned this special thing for us, so we can go do that. Those are always fun to do with romantic getaways. And that's what I love doing. It's finding those and implementing those. But one of my favorite stories is another couple that I helped plan a surprise romantic getaway for. So that's where you show up, you get envelopes, and you just basically show up and you don't know where you're going. It's a complete surprise. And it's so much fun. So
uh-huh.
this couple was from Colorado, and they love to do adventurous things. They wanted to have a balance of kind of relaxation and doing adventurous things together. And so they planned a trip to them to go to Moab, Utah. So they didn't know where they were going. They got envelopes that showed their destination, and they were really excited when they got it. But on the way, I had them stop at Mountain Man Hot Springs in Colorado.
Mhm.
And so they got to soak in these nice hot springs for a long time. And then they wanted to drive. They didn't want to fly somewhere, but it was like 5 hours away or something for them. So it was a good amount. And during the ride beforehand, I'd also sent them some special things that they could do for each other. So for one of them, I had them create like a playlist of songs that were really meaningful to them. They could play in the car together. And another one of them's love language was words of affirmation. So I had them write nice notes for each other and like secretly put them in different places around their hotel throughout the night while they were staying and different things like that. And then on the way, I had them play 20 questions about an experience you had on your honeymoon, and they have to try and guess that. So it really helps you like reminisce, and it really helps you bring back those memories together. And so that was really fun for them. And then when they got to their hotel, because I live in Utah and it was fall break, I had already gone there and surprised them with a romantic suite. So that's something else I do is I set up a romantic suite for couples. So the room was set up with rose petals and candles, and I'd bought them like nice spa robes, and I booked a couples massage for them. That was a complete surprise. So there were surprises all along the way for this romantic getaway that they got to experience. And they loved it. They had such a great time. And Moab, it's such a beautiful place, a beautiful area. They're like, oh, we definitely want to come back here. And it just was such an amazing experience. Like, it got me so excited. And it was something that they really just loved. It was really one of their dream romantic getaways, even though they didn't know that they wanted to go there.
That sounds incredible. How fun. What an adventure.
It was super fun.
That's really good.
It was great.
Well, where can people go to get in contact with you to learn more about what you do?
Yeah. So I am on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, all the social things. But so you can find me at romanceenhanced.com or Romantic Getaways Made Easy on Facebook. And then you can also find me at www.romanceenhanced.com. And you can get my getaway pages and my other services there as well. So this has been so fun. Thank you.
Great. Yes, thank you too. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in accelerating growth in your marriage, either sexually, emotionally, or spiritually, I want to invite you to work with me in my affordable coaching program called Next Level. More information about Next Level and my fun and sexy apps for couples are available at getyourmarriageon.com. Please also don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And be sure to tell your married friends. I promise, they will thank you for life. Now go get your marriage on.